About multiplication and division and their relationship to each other. The typical multiplication equation is written above, where we can see the first number is the number of groups. The second number is the number of things in each group. And when you multiply them together, your answer is the total number of things. So for example, let's look at 2 times 3. Remember, we can pronounce this instead of times as groups of. So this is asking us, what's 2 groups of 3? Well, 2 is the number of groups. So let me go ahead and get 2 groups right here. All right. 3 is the number of things in each group. So let me go ahead and put 3 things in my first group and 3 things in my second group. These are 2 equal groups of 3. So now what it's equal to is going to be the total number of things. So I have 3 here. I could even, in fact, kind of dump them all off and kind of just put them together and count. I have 3 from the first group and 3 from the second group. And using the strategy of addition, I know that 3 plus 3 is 6. So 2 groups of 3 is equal to 6 total wiggly eyes altogether. Let's do another example. What is 5 times 3? Well, 5 groups of 3. Here's one group. I can even do it like this. Here's one group of 3, a second group of 3. This can be helpful, this exact language I'm using. A third group of 3, a fourth group of 3, right here. And lastly, let's get out more manipulatives because we need 5 groups. Here is a 5th group of 3 more wiggly eyes. So it's important, even if you already know the answer, to be able to model it. So now I have 5 groups and there are 3 eyes in each group. And what it's asking me then is what is the answer? What is this equal to? What's the total number of eyes here? So this time, instead of using the strategy of adding, I could do 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 plus 3 more is 9, and so on. But I've actually memorized my skip counting by 3s. So that's another strategy that can be even quicker for multiplication. So let's see, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 googly eyes altogether. That's my skip counting by 3. Now, another way that I could think of this is that 5 groups of 3, 5 times 3 is actually equal to 3 times 5. That's the commutative property of addition. So there's my 3 times 5. Now I'd have to model that separately. For that, I only want 3 groups. Notice I'm going to leave all the eyes here though. I want 3 groups, so I'm going to take these pads away. And each group is going to have 5 eyes. So that means they need 2 more there to make 5. This 3 needs 2 more. And this 3 needs 2 more. So I didn't have to get any more googly eyes out of my drawer. I already had enough. The answer is the same. Skip counting by 5s this time. I have 5, 10, 15 googly eyes. Same answer. Now let's look at division. In division, we have these same 3 categories. We have a number of groups, a number of things in each group, and the total number of things. But for division, we're going to change the order around a little bit. Division questions start with telling you how many things there are all together. And then they ask you to share them. For example, one way to think of it is sharing. They ask you to share those things equally between a certain number of groups. And once you do that, the answer will be how many each group gets, the number in each group. So let's look at an example of that. Let's start with, let's do a question like 10 divided by 2. So the total number of things is 10. That means I'm going to take these eyes here, and those are 10. And it's wanting me to divide them equally, to share them equally among 2. 2 is the second number, so 2 is the number of groups. So here's one group, And here's another group. All right, so these are my two groups that I'm going to share these 10 eyes equally between. And there's a couple of different ways I'm going to do this. The division, the one strategy for division is dealing them out. So just like you deal cards, one to one player and one to the other, I'm going to deal out these eyes. I'm going to put one here and one here. A second one for you, and a second one for you. A third one for you, and a third one for you. Everything's still fair so far. Nobody's complaining. Fourth for you, and a fourth for you. And lastly, a fifth for you, and a fifth for you. Now, before I go ahead and say my answer, I want to make sure that the groups are equal. So there are indeed 5 here. I can subitize and see that X and know there's 5 right away. And there's also 5 here. So good, I checked, I divided them correctly, and now my answer to 10 divided by 2, or 10 things shared equally into 2 groups, noting these quantities here, my answer is going to be equal to the number of things in each group. So there's 5 things here, and there's 5 things here. So that means that 10 shared equally in 2 groups is equal to 5 things in each group. So 5 is my answer. Let's look at one more division situation where we're going to say that we need to have 12 pencils altogether. But I know that pencils are sold in boxes where each group, each box of pencils has 4 per group. So the pencils, you can imagine 4 of them all wrapped together in one little box, and there's 4 in each box. So I want to know, my answer is going to be how many boxes? What is the number of boxes that I need to buy? So what that's going to look like is, again, we need 12 pencils altogether, and they're sold in groups of 4 pencils per group. So the way I can read this is 12, make them into groups of 4. Well, let's take 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, I've got 12 bells. And now I want to, they're packaged in groups of 4. So there's one group of 4, another box of 4 pencils or bells, and here's another box of 4 pencils or bells. I now realize I didn't have 12. I had 13. I'm going to get rid of this. We want 12. And 12 grouped in groups of 4 is equal to, well, my answer is going to be the number of groups. I have 1, 2, 3 groups. So my answer to 12 split in groups of 4 is 3. 12 is 3 groups of 4.